When you hear the movie title, The Creature from the Black Lagoon, what is your first thought? The creature, right? Did you know that a woman designed the creature's costume? Her name is Milicent Patrick. If you want to find out more about her, the reasons why it took so long to find out about her, a bit of scandal as to why she wasn't originally credited for the monster, and some of the other projects she worked on, keep watching. Hello and welcome to Killer Kitsch Lizzie, my weird little world where I like to knit and sew and do other crafty things. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about the actual person who designed the Gill-man from The Creature from the Black Lagoon. If you're a fan of that movie, as I am, it's a summer tradition. Every year at the beginning of summer, we watch it. It's a way to kick off summer. That and the movie Jaws. And I'm sure a lot of other people are doing the same thing. If you're a fan of that movie, you will also be a fan of the Gill-man, as I just mentioned, and that absolutely fantastic costume. Well, for many decades, everyone thought it was designed by a man named Bud Westmore. Well, that's not actually the truth. That incredible creature was designed by a woman, and her name was Milicent Patrick. In today's video, I'm going to talk about her and a little bit about the scandal that is involved with the creating and the movie of The Creature from the Black Lagoon. So, as I mentioned, it is a summer tradition. I have seen this movie many times, also on DVD. I have the Legacy box set. I have seen it both on DVD, I've seen it on VHS, and I have seen it on the big screen. I'm fortunate that our rep theater in our neighborhood has shown it a couple of times, as well as at one point at a different theater, we did see it in 3D. I didn't really enjoy that experience as much, but it isn't because of the movie, it isn't because of the quality of the movie or any of that. I can't seem to use modern 3D glasses. The vintage ones with the one side blue, one side red, I have no problems. Now, I wear glasses to see far away, so I have to put the 3D glasses on top of that. I don't know if that's a factor, but by the end of the movie, any 3D movie that I've watched with the modern glasses, I end up with a massive headache. So, unfortunately, for me, the 3D version of that movie was not a good time. I'm hoping someday that theaters will show it with the original type of 3D glasses, because I don't have a problem with those. But I'm not here really to talk about that. I'm here to talk about Milicent Patrick and why it took till the 70s before anyone knew that she was the actual creator of that beautiful creature. So, before we get to any of that, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about who Milicent Patrick actually was. So, Milicent was born, I'm going to be using my notes, so if I'm looking down, because it is a lot of research that I did for this video, and it's easier for me to refer to my notes instead of try to do it from memory. So Milicent Patrick was born Mildred Rossi in 1915. As a child, Milicent found her way to California because her father worked as the superintendent of construction on the building of Hearst Castle. And due to this, they also lived on the grounds. So if you're not familiar with who Hearst, being William Randolph Hearst, was, he was a very, very wealthy publisher. And you may or may not be more familiar with his granddaughter, Patricia Hearst, who was involved with a you know, she was kidnapped and there was like a terrorist group involved. Anyways, look her up, look him up. They have very interesting lives. So anyways, that's how her life started. That's how she got to California. And when she was, you know, there, her original dream was to be an actress. And Milicent was also a woman of many, many talents. Actress, artist, gifted concert pianist, and model. Um, and as I said, when she was there in Los Angeles, she did. She was an actress, and she did, well, they say 20 movies, but she was uncredited for a lot of movies, so it's probably even more than that. So, but her true love was art. She was truly an artist. So in 1939, Millicent got hired by Disney Studios, and she was known as one of the ink and paint girls, and which wasn't actually the title of what those women were called. And as the title suggests, they were ink and paint girls. So they would, you know, ink animation cells or artwork, and you know, fill them in with paint. That was their jobs. But she was not content just doing that. She had bigger goals. She was such an incredibly talented artist, and she knew it. And she knew she could do more with that talent, right? And also the studio heads also recognized her talent. And because of that, she eventually got moved from being an ink and paint girl to working in the animation studio. And this was also a big achievement for her, because not a lot of women were able to move into that kind of position, right, during that time. And also, while she was at Disney, she worked on some pretty big movies, animated movies, right? And one of them, probably at that time, one of the biggest animated movies was Fantasia. And I've totally forgotten the name of the character, but there's like a demon monster character. Why can't I remember? I just had it in my brain a second ago. Anyway, that was her. She was the one that created that big demon, satanic-looking creature in Fantasia. She also worked on Dumbo and The Reluctant Dragon. But her dreams went even beyond working for Disney, which, I mean, working for Disney at that time was a huge deal, right? But she wanted bigger. She wanted more. She wanted to work at an even bigger studio. And fate heard her. And Disney, there was a huge strike at Disney, and when the strike was finally resolved, she decided it was sort of, you know, the world telling her, or the universe telling her, you know, it's now time for you to move on. So she was dreaming of working for a bigger studio, and that studio was Universal Studios. So she worked at Disney from 1939 till about 1952. And when she originally started at Universal, she was in the makeup department. But again, not content being there. And she wanted to do more. And again, the head of a department, the head of the makeup department there, Bud Westmore, noticed her talent and also remembered her from a previous movie she'd worked on, and decided to move her from the makeup department into the special effects makeup department. Now, Bud Westmore, his name is very recognizable. He was the head of that department in Universal Studios. His family, it was a legacy family. They had been around since probably the beginning of Hollywood, and they were the main family or the main company or the main people that would do makeup for a lot of movies. They were rich, and because of all of that, Bud had quite the ego, and that'll come into play. You're going to find out more about that in a little bit. A little bit more about this. So a few of the movies she worked on while she was at Universal was, and I'm going to pop up movie posters for all of this. Against All Flags, I almost said Against All Odds, 1952, Sign of the Pagan, 1954, It Came from Outer Space, 1953, this is going to come into play in a moment, Abbott and Costello Meet Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, also 1953, This Island Earth, 1955, and The Mole People, 1956. So while working on these movies, she learned a lot about special effects makeup as well as costuming. So when the movie was now planning for the movie The Creature from the Black Lagoon, initially they were going to hire a man to be the one to design, or be the main person to design the creature, which ended up being named Gill-man. But Bud Westmore once again remembered how talented Milicent was, and he also remembered her from her work on It Came from Outer Space. She is responsible for the main alien in that movie. And he realized, due to her talent, that she was the girl for this project. So he hired her to work on this movie. So once she was hired to work on the movie, she got straight to work working on creating probably one of the most iconic creatures from Universal Monsters. Everyone knows who, when you say Gill-man, a lot of people, not everyone, but it's a very, most people know who you're talking about when you say Gill-man, or even the creature from the Black Lagoon. So, also a girl after my own heart. She was a research nerd. She would go into in-depth research before beginning her sketches, and she did a lot of research on the Gill-man, and she based some of her research on prehistoric reptiles, amphibians, and fish from the Devonian period. And when you actually look at the monster, and if you go and look at anything from that period, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I see it, right? And apparently it took 3 tries at the monster before they finally approved on the final Gill-man. And I'm sure as they were making the movie, it probably got tweaked a bit more here and there, right? But even after all of her incredible work for Universal Studios, her incredible work on the Gill-man, her extraordinary talent, there is scandal in relation to this movie. So as I mentioned, Bud had a massive ego. He insisted that the studio only credit him in any movie he was in charge of the makeup department for. You will never, in any of those movies, you're not going to see anyone else's name. You're going to see Bud Westmore, and that is it. Like for the makeup department. So just remember that. It'll come into play in a second. So Milicent Patrick was not only just a talented artist, she was stunning. This is a gorgeous woman. I'm going to pop up photos of her. Absolutely gorgeous. Also, she was very personable. People loved her. She was really good with people. And because of that, the studio heads decided, as a way to promote the movie, they would send her out on a press tour to talk about the movie. And originally they had titled this The Beauty Who Created the Beast. The second Westmore heard this, he had a meltdown. We're talking massive meltdown. To the point where to appease him, the studio heads changed the title of the tour to The Beauty Who Lives with the Beast, which is a very odd thing to call it, but that's what the tour was called. So off Milicent goes, out on tour, all over the US, promoting this movie, and in the meantime, Bud's jealousy grows and grows more and grows more because she is getting accolades. She is getting so many compliments and amazing words from the studio heads and other people about the creature. And Bud is now paranoid that people are going to find out that she created the monster and he did not. So even before Milicent made her way off on tour, she had to promise him that she would not say that she was the creator, that he was the creator. So while she's out on tour, he is constantly getting all the newspapers sent to him. If there was any radio or anything done, he had to listen to it. He had to make sure every step of the way that she was not giving it away. However, this beautiful woman is out on tour talking about the creature instead of Bud. So now reporters and journalists and news outlets and other people are starting to think, interesting, why is she on tour and not Bud? She's talking about the creature, the Gill-man. It should be Gill. Or it should be Bud talking about Gillman. Like, what's going on? This feedback gets back to him. And he's furious now, because now he is even more paranoid. And he is worried she's going to start taking credit for this monster. Or this creature. So he goes to the bosses again, and he's like, she has to be gone. When her tour is done, she's fired. So Milicent gets back to the studio, thinking she's going to be returning to a couple of projects she's already started working on, to find out she's been fired. Not the first time this has happened, not the last time it happened in the history of women. And then all the credit goes to Bud. Now, this left a really sour taste in her mouth, and because of that, she never worked behind the scenes ever again. She never worked in makeup, like the makeup departments. She never worked in special effects makeup ever again. She decided to go back to acting. And that's really heartbreaking. There's been so many times in history where women have not been credited for the work they've done, or they've had to, as an example, Mary Shelley, go by a pseudonym that is male in order to get the work published. In her case, she created this incredible monster, and publishers were like, look, no one's going to believe a woman created this monster, especially how violent he is. So we can't use your name. And at that time, her name had a lot of power behind it. Mary Shelley, Percy Shelley, right? So she had to use a pseudonym for the first little while. There's been other cases. Hedy Lamarr is another one. I mean, we have Bluetooth and Wi-Fi because of her, but she didn't get credited. I don't even think she got paid, if I remember correctly. Her life ended in poverty. Had she actually got credited for this, her life probably would have ended better. And in Milicent's case, I think if that hadn't happened to her, because in the 50s, Hollywood was putting out a lot of like sci-fi movies, and with each new movie, special effects got better, makeup got better, costumes got better. And I think that if she was allowed to continue her career as a special effects makeup artist, we would have seen some amazing monsters. And it's really upsetting that she didn't get that opportunity, and it's upsetting that we didn't get the opportunity to see what she possibly could have done with her career. But yeah, she returned to acting and then eventually retired from acting. I think in the maybe mid 60s, I think she retired from acting. And as I said, decades went by. Decades went by without anyone realizing that she was actually the person that was the creator of the Gill-man. But then a few people started doing research. One of them was for an article written in 1978. I have to look at what the person's name is because I have forgotten it. I apologize. Oh, here it is. Robert Skotak in 1978 wrote an article for Famous Monsters of Filmland, and he made sure that her name was noted as the creator. And then on the Legacy Collection, there's a documentary called Back to the Black Lagoon. And again, she's credited with this, with being the creator of Gill-man. And then, you know, fast forward to 2019, author Mallory O'Meara, she wrote a biography about Milicent called The Lady from the Black Lagoon. And Mallory did a lot of research, and that book covers a lot of her life and stuff we don't know about her. And I have ordered the book. Unfortunately, it wasn't here in time for this video. I should have ordered it sooner because I've been thinking about doing this video for quite a while. And I was hoping it would have been here long before now and I could have read it, or read part of it at least, but alas. But in the meantime, what I did is I watched a bunch of videos where Mallory's talking about the book and her research and all that. So it's going to be a good book to read. Yeah, and I am so glad too. So Milicent passed away in 1998, and I am so glad that she found out about, or that we found out about who she was in her lifetime. I'm glad she got the recognition finally that she deserved. And, you know, she didn't die thinking, well, nobody knows that I created this fantastic creature, right? A lot of people who have invented things or, you know, have come up with innovations or creations have unfortunately died and not been given credit in their lifetime. So I'm glad she did. So I am going to be doing a future video about the fashion from this movie because I feel like both the male and female fashions in this movie are the perfect sort of foray into summer. And in that video, I'm also going to talk about, you know, patterns you could possibly use. That's coming in the future. But I thought it was really important to actually talk about Milicent today. And I've been doing other videos. You've seen a couple already. I got more planned to actually talk about women who maybe we don't know some of the great things they've done, or maybe like Milicent, they didn't get credit for stuff. I think it's just really important that we know about these women, and, you know, in some case they're all related to like vintage fashion as well too, right? This one's not about fashion at all, but I just thought it was important to talk about Milicent before I do talk about anything else to do about this movie. And I hope you'll look into her and find out more about her. I, you know, hope you'll buy the biography about her, because it would be great for Mallory if more people read that book. I know that a lot already have, like she's a very popular author. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Please enjoy the footage coming up, and I'm going to sign off now, and please subscribe. Please give me a thumbs up. Please comment below if you've seen this movie. If you haven't, go watch it. And until next time, stay kitschy.